Welcome to our Passion Liturgy. Today we celebrate the love that God has for each one of us, a love that forgives all sin and heals the hurt and pain we sometimes feel. Dear Jesus, who died to save us, we are here to remember your great love for us. We are sorry for the times we have not returned your love. May our hearts be open more and more to your gift of love.
We have been following the story of a man called Jesus.
Jesus and his 12 disciples are all making their way to Jerusalem in preparation for the Passover festival. Jesus has just told his friends that while they are there, he is going to die.
They are horrified by this news and don't really know what to think. Some don't understand, some are confused and some are afraid. Jesus has told them lots of stories to try and prepare them for what's going to happen, but nothing would quite prepare them for what happened next.
So we join Jesus and his disciples as they are about to enter Jerusalem. Everyone has heard that Jesus is on his way and they're all very excited.
It is an amazing sight. Many people are on the road waving branches and spreading their cloaks on the ground as Jesus passes by riding on a donkey. They are singing and shouting at the tops of their voices.
A while later, Judas Iscariot, one of Jesus' 12 disciples, went to see the chief priests to ask how much they would pay him to betray Jesus.
The festival of unleavened bread, also known as Passover, was approaching.
Jesus said, "Go and prepare the Passover meal for us to eat. In the city you will meet a man carrying a jar of water. Follow him to his house. There you will find an upstairs room ready for you to use. Prepare the meal there." I have been looking forward to eating this meal with you. I won't eat with you again until God's kingdom comes.
A new kingdom? We don't know what you mean.
Jesus got up from the table, removing his outer garment and taking a towel, wrapped them around his waist. He then poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel he was wearing.
Simon Peter said,
"Are you going to wash my feet?"
Jesus replied,
At the moment you do not know what I am doing, but later you will understand.
"Never, you shall never wash my feet."
If I do not wash you, you can have nothing in common with me.
"Then, Lord, not only my feet, but my hands and head as well."
When Jesus had finished washing their feet, he went back to the table.
I have given you an example so you may copy what I have done.
Jesus then took some bread in his hands and said thank you to God for it. He broke the bread and handed it to his disciples, saying,
This is my body, shared out for you.
Jesus took a cup of wine in his hands and said thank you to God for it. He said this to his disciples.
This is the cup of my blood, poured out for you.
The disciples ate the bread and drank the wine just as Jesus had told them to.
One of you sitting here at this table is going to betray me and hand me over to the chief priests.
Then Jesus took Peter to one side.
Peter, I pray that your faith will be strong. A time is coming when you will say that you don't know me. I pray that after you have let me down, you will turn back to me and help the others to be faithful.
But I am not going to let you down. I would die for you if I had to.
Before the cockerel crows tomorrow morning, you will say 3 times that you don't know me.
When they had finished their meal, Jesus and his disciples left and went to a garden called Gethsemane, which was on a Mount of Olives.
But Judas crept away quietly on his own to continue his plot to betray Jesus.
When Jesus got there, he told them to pray and stay awake for him. Here Jesus began to pray.
My Father, if it's possible, don't make me die in this way, but do what you want and not what I want.
After he prayed, Jesus came back and found his disciples sleeping.
Can't any of you stay awake for me for just 1 hour?
Peter replied,
I am willing, but my body is weak.
Look, the hour is near. Here comes my betrayer.
Judas had arrived with a large armed mob. As it was still dark, Judas had arranged to greet Jesus with a light kiss on the cheek, so that the men knew who to arrest.
Hello, teacher,
Judas said.
My friend, why are you here?
The men seized Jesus.
Peter lunged at the guard with a sword and sliced off his ear.
Stop, Peter.
Jesus knew that if he wanted to, he could ask God to send a whole army of angels to rescue him, but that was not the way it was to be.
Instead, Jesus touched the ear of the guard and healed him.
As the mob took Jesus away, all the disciples left him and ran away.
While Jesus was being questioned, Peter had followed them to a courtyard where servant girls approached him.
Aren't you one of Jesus' friend?
That is not true. I do not know him.
Yet another servant said,
This man was with Jesus of Nazareth.
No, I wasn't. I told you, I don't know him.
We know that you're one of his friends. We can tell because you're from Galilee.
I'm telling you the truth. I don't know the man.
At once a cuckoo crowed, and Peter remembered that Jesus had said, Before the cuckoo crows, you will say 3 times that you don't know me.
During the early hours of the next morning, all the chief priests and the nation leaders met and decided that Jesus should be put to death. They took him to Pilate, the governor.
Jesus, are you the king of the Jews?
Those are your words.
And when the chief priests and leaders brought their charges against him, he did not say a thing.
Don't you hear what crimes they say you have done?
But Jesus did not say anything. The governor was greatly amazed.
During Passover, the governor always freed a prisoner chosen by the people. At that time, a well-known criminal named Barabbas was in jail. Pilate asked the crowd,
Which prisoner do you want me to set free? Do you want Barabbas or Jesus, who is called the Messiah?
Barabbas! Barabbas!
But what am I to do with this man Jesus?
Nail him to a cross.
But what crime has he done?
Crucify him! Crucify him!
There was nothing else to be done. Scared of the crowd outside, Pilate set Barabbas free. Then he ordered his soldiers to take Jesus away.
Jesus is made to carry the cross. Jesus was condemned to a cruel death nailed to a cross of wood. Soldiers loaded the cross onto his shoulders. Although he had done no wrong, he was ordered to carry his heavy load through the jeering crowd.
Dear God, when I feel alone and troubles weigh me down like a heavy load, help me to know that I am walking with Jesus.
Jesus falls for the first time under the cross. Jesus walked along the narrow streets of Jerusalem, struggling with the heavy cross. The pavement was rough beneath his feet. The guards hurried him without pity. He lost his footing and fell.
Dear God, I try to follow Jesus, but sometimes I fail and fall. May I know in my heart that Jesus is always with me.
Jesus is met by his mother. Jesus' mother Mary was in Jerusalem, following her dear son as he walked to a death he did not deserve. The love of a mother such as Mary is forever.
Dear God, thank you for the great family of those who follow you, for they are a great family to us and give us help and encouragement as we also try to follow you.
Simon of Cyrene helps carry the cross. Jesus struggled once again with the cross. The guard grew impatient with his slowness. They saw a strongly built man, Simon of the Cyrene. "Oi, you! Carry the cross for this prisoner," the soldier commanded. So Simon did.
Dear God, thank you for those who we do not know, who help us with their greater strength when we are in need.
Veronica wipes the face of Jesus. Jesus could barely see the way ahead. Tears clouded his eyes. He tried to wipe them, but only smeared them with the dust from his hands. Then a woman stepped forward and gently wiped his face with a cloth.
Dear God, we thank you for those who see the little ways in which to give us help and support.
Jesus falls for the second time. The guards urged Jesus forward, for his sentence had to be carried out without delay. But who can walk calmly to the place where there will be pain and punishment? Once again, weak and in pain, Jesus fell.
Dear God, I try to follow Jesus, but sometimes I grow fearful and discouraged. Help me to trust that in your care all things will work together for the good.
A group of women wept to see Jesus so cruelly treated. "He has done no wrong," they cried. "What is happening is neither right nor fair." Jesus looked at them sadly. "Do not weep for me," he said. "Weep for yourselves and for your children who have to go on living in these troubled times."
Dear God, when the world is unkind and people are so unfair, we weep with you, you weep for us.
Jesus falls the third time. Jesus and the guards approached the hill that was going to be the end of the journey. Shaking with fear and exhaustion, Jesus fell again.
Dear God, whenever in this world there is more suffering than goodness, help me to believe that your goodness is strong and your love is forever.
Jesus is stripped of his garments. At the place of the execution, the guards took from Jesus even the clothes he was wearing. They gambled among themselves to decide who would have his tunic. Jesus was left with nothing.
Dear God, help me not to worry about the things that people can steal, but rather to seek to live in the way you want, to live in your kingdom.
Jesus is nailed to the cross. The guards then laid Jesus on the cross and hammered iron nails through his hands and feet. They hung him up to die, while others mocked at his suffering.
Dear God, when I see violent people win, may I continue to believe in peace.
Jesus dies upon the cross. For several hours, Jesus hung upon the cross. He asked God to forgive those who had treated him so cruelly. He asked his friend John to be a son to his mother. He pleaded with God to tell him why he had been left alone to suffer, and then he died.
A man named Joseph from Arimathea, who was a disciple of Jesus but secretly asked Pilate if he could take away the body of Jesus. Pilate agreed, and so he did. Joseph and another man called Nicodemus took the body of Jesus and wrapped it in linen cloths with spices, as is the burial custom for Jewish people.
Now in the place where Jesus was crucified there was a garden, and in the garden a new tomb where no one had ever been laid. As it was the Jewish day of preparation, and the tomb was close at hand, they laid Jesus there.